In this video, I'm going to demonstrate how to create the nut that will pull the collet back and lock our part. So first, I'm going to Control Tab to my other open document. I'm going to select the front plane, and I want to make a revolve boss. Start with a center line. Push Escape. I'll use mouse gestures to activate line. And all I'm going to draw is a rectangle. This is a very simple part. I'll activate Smart Dimension with mouse gestures. And I'll dimension this. So the ID of this will be slightly under 3 inches. So I'm going to put the equation to calculate the depth of the thread for this internal thread of the nut. So I'm going to put a bracket here. Now because this is an internal 60-degree thread, my equation is now 0.54127 times the pitch, 0.0625, bracket, and again it's times 2 because this is a radial calculation, and I'm working with a diameter here. So I'll say OK. It calculates it for me. I'm going to push Escape. I would like the thickness of my nut to be a 1/2 inch, and then I just need to think about how thick I want this part. So again, I'll select this, I'll click, and I'll make it a 1/2 inch. My sketch is fully defined. I'll right click and exit the sketch. There's only one center line, so it does a full 360 revolve, and I'll say OK, and I'll fit the geometry to the screen. Like my other parts, I want an internal thread here. So I could use the thread wizard, but I'm just going to go Insert, down to Annotations, and again I'm going to insert the cosmetic thread. So I'll select this edge. You can go through all up to next, it doesn't matter. So the diameter this time is 3 inches, and the thread call out again will just be 3-16 for now, and I'll say OK. So if I expand the revolve, we see our cosmetic thread. I'm going to right click and shut off the annotations, and I also want to chamfer these corners. So I'll select the corner, select chamfer. 50 thou will be fine. Again, 50 thou here and here, and I'll say OK. And the last thing I want to do for this nut is think about how I'll tighten it. I could put a knurl here and just hand tighten. I probably will add a knurl later, but I also want to add some holes so that I can take a piece of pipe or a pin and use it to really snug it up. So to do that, you can select the front plane, go Reference Geometry Plane. I want to create a parallel plane that's tangent to this face. I'll right click to accept that, and in this plane I'm going to create a hole wizard. I just want a standard drilled hole. Just want to think about the size of the pin I would use to crank it tight. So I'm going to bump this up to 3/8. I don't want it through all. I'm not going to put a countersink on it because it's going into a curved surface. I do want to think about its depth, but we'll see that in a minute. I'll go to Positions. I'll look normal too, and I'm going to add a hole here. I'll push Escape. So I'll select the origin, select the center. I'll make these horizontal. Then I'll activate Smart Dimension, and I'll make this distance 1/4 to put it on center. And I'm going to rotate around to see the preview. And then I want to consider, is this too big of a diameter? I'm going to say OK to the dimensions. I'll go back here to the size. It's just a regular clearance hole, but I'm going to make it a bit smaller. So I'm going to make it 1/4 inch, so there's plenty of material left on all sides. Again, I'm going to rotate around, have a look at the depth. If the depth is too deep, I'll change it. But in this case, I'm going to say I want the depth to here. I want to think about where the drill point is. I don't want it breaking through. And I'll say OK. To accept that, I'll look at it and find the plane that goes through the middle. I'll use this plane. I want to do a section view quickly, just so I can get a feel for what's in here. That looks all right, so I'll end the section view. The last thing I'll do is select this hole, then the down arrow below linear pattern. I'll create a circular pattern. I want 4 instances. For the direction, I'll just select the ID of the part. And I'm going to put 4 holes equally spaced around this. I'll say OK. Put it in the isometric view. I'm going to save this as the nut. I'll Control Tab back to the assembly, And I want to insert this into the assembly. So it's still open, I can select it here. I'll drag and drop it out. And I know I want this diameter and this diameter to be concentric. And that's good. I'm going to rotate around a bit. And the last thing I'll do is I'll lock this face to this face with a coincidence mate. Later I'll change and fix these mates so that the assembly behaves as it would in the real world. But for now, that's good. It still rotates, and that's fine. I'm not going to worry about that. But now I've created the nut and I've added it to the assembly. I'm going to put this back in the isometric view. I'm going to rebuild, save my work, and in the next video we'll continue from there.